What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. As many of you guys may know, we're getting a new Hearthstone adventure soon, and awesome cards are getting revealed pretty much every single day now. And if you haven't already seen our first video on One Night in Karazhan, you should definitely check it out. I'll have a link in the description for that one. One Night in Karazhan is honestly just the gift that keeps on giving, and we've got lots of sweet cards to talk to you guys about today, so let's jump right into it. The first new card that we have is Malchazar's Imp, which is one of two Warlock commons in the set. Malchazar's Imp is a super sweet card actually. 1 mana for a 1/3 creature is actually pretty sweet, as we've seen on similar cards like Northshire Cleric, Tunnel Trog, and Sir Finley, stuff like that. Not only that, but this card's ability is actually really cool. So Malchazar's Imp has the ability, whenever you draw a card, discard a card. The Warlock class has long had the theme of discarding cards as a cost for better stats or effects, as like a trade-off kind of thing, with cards like Succubus, Soulfire, and Doomguard being extremely powerful. While there have been some payoff cards for this effect like Fist of Meraxes, there's never really been a reason to build around this effect until now. Not only do the cards you discard now get completely replaced, but you might also get to discard some cards that are not really relevant to draw into ones that are, so you can use it as a method to cycle. We'll see whether or not the imp by itself is enough to create this discard warlock kind of archetype deck and make it good and constructed, but the card's definitely pretty cool and opens up some really awesome design space. While right now there simply might not be enough good cards to go along with the imp and abuse it, the card by itself is definitely constructed playable, at least in theory, since the discard cards are just honestly so powerful, and we can't wait to see Doomguards that actually draw people cards at the same time. The next card we have is Karazhan. Man, they really gave us Red Riding Hood, and now they're giving us Beauty and the Beast too. Karazhan is a really cool reference to animated talking objects from the beloved children's movie, but the card itself is honestly a little bit underwhelming. For 5 mana you get a 1/1 creature, a 2/2, and a 3/3 creature as well, and that's pretty much it, unless Blizzard plans on making more cards with room synergy like a Mop or a Dustpan or something. So this is essentially 6/6 worth of stats for 5 mana, except the stats are split up, which can be better, but it's also sometimes worse, depending on whether the opponent has an area of effect or single target removal and on how the rest of the board state looks. There's just way too many options for 5 mana for this card to see constructed play honestly, and it's honestly on paper not necessarily that much better than a card like Silverhand Knight. Force of Nature is also kind of the same card for Druids, and it currently sees pretty much no play in decks that even try to have that type of playstyle of making tokens. So this is actually probably a very reasonable arena card, but its constructed potential is pretty much zero unless we get some kind of broom synergy going on. Our next card is Pompous Thespian, and oh boy, we definitely have some cool cards to talk about in this video today, but this card is not one of them. The first neutral common we've seen so far, Pompous Thespian, is pretty unexciting, just about as unexciting as you could get for a card really. For 2 mana you get a 3/2 body and has taunt, and that's just about it. And the reference to a Noyatron in the art is probably the coolest thing about this card because it has less of a chance of being played and constructed than a broom, a candlestick, and a teapot. The cards we have access to are just way more efficient for anything even close to this to get played and constructed. It's definitely going to be a solid arena card, but that's just about it. Not really sure what this card has to be pompous about. If you didn't have to complete all parts of an adventure to get the cards, we would probably just skip the wing that had this one as a reward. Our next card is Raving Grimoire. Seems like this expansion's really determined to keep Casino Mage a thing going. Raving Grimoire is a super cool card. A 1 mana 1/1 creature is unexciting on paper, but adding a random spell to your hand definitely makes up for it. Unfortunately, we're not entirely sure if this card's going to make the cut and constructed. I mean, if this card had said discover a mage spell, it honestly would have just been broken as hell, and it seems like Blizzard kind of learned their lesson with Dark Peddler. Unfortunately, giving a random spell with a subpar body might not necessarily be enough. It's not that the card is bad value, since you get a 1/1 creature and a spell, which is kind of comparable to drawing a card. It's more that Tempo Mage decks right now already have a lot of very good cards, and everything is very aggressively fighting for slots in the actual deck, and an incredibly inconsistent card is probably just not going to make the cut even if the value is worth it most of the time. Maybe after another standard rotation happens, this card will start making it in, and we could definitely see it as a one of in Reno Mage as well, but we don't think it's going to have too big of an impact in Constructed, at least for now. Our next card is called Protect the King, which is the only warrior card we've seen so far, and it's actually pretty cool. I mean, shoutouts to Blizzard because all the flavor and story of this card is really just so on point. I mean, Karazhan has a chess theme, and this card creates pawns to protect the king, which is, of course, you playing the warrior. As for the actual effect for this one, it's a little bit tough to evaluate. I mean, it's a little bit like Unleash the Hounds maybe, which is honestly a great card, but we think it's actually quite a bit worse than that for a few reasons. First of all, Charge is quite a bit better than Taunt, of course, and makes this card super weak against Area of Effect board clears. Second of all, Warrior doesn't really need a version of Unleash the Hounds in the first place. Unleash the Hounds is Hunter's go-to card as a punish for someone overextending, but Warrior already has a million ways to punish lots of minions when your opponent overextends. You've got Brawl, you've got all these Whirlwinds effects, and all sorts of stuff. This card does have some interesting synergies with Bolster though, where you get to basically build your own Muster Quartermaster kind of combo, but Bolster is a much worse card than Quartermaster in theory when things don't really pan out. The card might see a little bit of play, and the design is really interesting, but it's not something that we expect to make a significant impact. Next up, we have our first dragon in the new set, which is Bookworm. This is where we start to get the high rollers in constructed. 6 mana for a 3/6 isn't really that great, but it holds its own, and the ability itself is honestly insane. When you're holding a dragon and you play Bookworm, you essentially just get to cast Shadow Word Pain on one of your opponent's minions. This card is a little bit like Stampeding Kodo, but with the big difference being that you get to choose which minion to destroy, but you do have to have a dragon in your hand. 3 attacks also a lot more than 2, and this card will usually just be a straight up 2-for-1 effect. It also helps fill out the curve quite nicely for dragon decks, as they have Twilight Guardian on 4, Blackwing Corruptor on 5, but not necessarily a good 6-drop dragon if you're playing the control version of the deck. This card actually has a lot of potential, and it's something that you could probably expect to see in a lot of dragon decks, and we expect those dragon decks to potentially be top tier in the new set moving forward. Moving on, we finally have our first legendary for this video, which is Meraxes. 3 mana for a 1/1 creature is kind of abysmal on paper, but his stats don't entirely matter since you're not really going to want to be attacking with him. Meraxes also has Stealth, and makes a 1/1 creature at the end of each turn, which is quite a strong ability. It's like the mini Hogger that everyone always wanted. Now 1/1s aren't really that great, and this card gets completely destroyed by Area of Effect, but costing 3 mana for this effect is honestly quite strong. It's possible that this card might end up being a little bit too slow, but you've got combos like, Druid can innervate this card on turn 1, and then you just start off the power of wilding all the stewards for tons of value. Because you only get 7 creatures on the board in Hearthstone at a time, this seems like a little bit more of an aggressive card than a grindy value one, and it actually slots in quite perfectly into the token Druid deck. It might not necessarily see play in other archetypes, but it's nice of Blizzard to actually print legendaries for specific decks, rather than just super broken cards that kind of fit into everything. I'm looking at you, Dr. Boom. Other than that, it's hard to tell where Meraxes will find a home, but he is a reasonable card and will likely see lots of play in the token Druid deck. And so our final card for the video is probably the most exciting one, which is another legendary, and it is Prince Malchezaar. 5 mana for a 5/6 body is already pretty good on paper, and the effect is honestly one of the coolest and probably most fun effects actually printed on a Hearthstone card. When you start the game, Malchezaar shuffles 5 extra legendaries into your deck. Now this effect isn't necessarily as good as you might think at first glance, because you build your deck to draw specific cards. A specific card from your deck that you chose is pretty much always going to be better than something random. It also slightly messes up your mulligans too, since legendaries are skewed towards costing more mana, and you might get stuck with some unplayable cards in your hand for a while too. The good thing about Elise was that you got to choose when you turned your deck into legendaries, and you only did it in super grindy games, whereas Malchezaar is kind of a mandatory effect. That being said though, the Demon Prince does have some really good things going for him. I mean, Malchezaar allows you to essentially break deck building restrictions and play a 35 card deck, which enables the fatigue kind of archetype for pretty much every class now. If the meta ever becomes pretty slow and Control Warrior and Priest become strong again, you might actually be forced to play this card or just lose because you have 5 less cards in your deck at the start of the game. Malchezaar also kind of lets you cheat deck building the same way that Elise did, where you can play a deck with just all removal and then rely on Elise and Malchezaar to give you threats later on into the game. At the moment, the meta seems a little bit too fast for Malchezaar, but if Standard ever gets pretty slow while Malchezaar's in it, it's definitely going to be a super popular pick. So those are some of our thoughts on the new cards we've seen so far. Let us know what your favorite cards are in the comments. And it looks like that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.